I'm Gaia.
I'm Angelica.
Today we're speaking to Tucker George, founder and CEO of UK broadband company Rebel Internet. Hello, Tucker.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you very much for coming on today. We're very well.
Thanks for having me.
So what is Rebel Broadband?
Rebel Internet is a fully digital broadband company, and we're challenging the legacy incumbents, who I affectionately call big broadband or the broadband dinosaurs, and we deliver a superior home internet experience. So the big thing, if anybody lives in the UK, is the broadband relationship with your provider is fundamentally broken. Right?
I think we can relate to that. I think anyone listening can relate to that.
Everybody gets it. I remember I'm an American. I first moved to the UK, and I was just like, this feels really hard. Confusing. The internet's not very good. It's like Wi-Fi is cutting out all the time. My price keeps going up, but the service keeps getting worse. Doesn't make sense. It's kind of a utility, right? Like, we need the internet. Everything we do now is like more interconnected. I want a smart house, but like my internet's getting worse. So we just kind of realized the market's broken. Customers are super frustrated, and we kind of said, well, it doesn't have to be this way. We can use different technology. There's new fiber cables in the ground, so we can have like faster internet. There's new software, there's new hardware, so I can put better equipment in your house. I can have really cool software so that Wi-Fi works everywhere, not just in your living room. So if you're in your garden, you can have great Wi-Fi. If you're in your home and you want to watch in bedroom, you want to watch Netflix at night, like that doesn't have to be a problem. Or you have a Peloton in a spare room. That doesn't have to be a problem. We kind of realized the market's super frustrated. Everybody's kind of dominated by like a couple big legacy guys who really exploit customers. We said, let's see if we can flip this.
And how long ago did it start?
So we founded Rebel 4 years ago. We basically took a year to kind of trial it, build it. You really want to make sure if you're coming new into the market that what you're doing, and if it's an essential service like your internet, right? This is like COVID times, everybody's working from home. You know, you can't have it work 25% of the time. It needs to be perfect, because if somebody's going to switch from the Sky or BT, it needs to be demonstrably better. And so we kind of trialed it for a year, and we've kind of been live in the market for about 3.
You're right, though. I guess it's really frustrating because as a consumer, because we see it as an essential good, even if it doesn't work that 1% will define my experience, and it will define the way that I see, the company. So I guess on your end, it's just so much harder because it's just such an essential good.
It's harder, but it's actually a really good threshold for a new company, because everybody has their different theory on what a startup or a new company can do. And there's kind of like, you can be a little messy as long as you're learning. Well, that's okay for new products in new environments, in new markets, right? Because nobody knows, there's no benchmark. But if there's a benchmark, if you're coming into a legacy industry, right? So think of what Monzo or Revolut did in banking, right? Like HSBC's been around for a while, and Lloyd's has been around for a while. Frustrated customers for a long time. And they were like, okay, we need to have a seamless experience, or Octopus Energy kind of did that with gas and energy, right? And they came in and said, okay, we need to change the way something you use every day works and just kind of fix those pain points. So we had that threshold. The benefit is it makes you have a huge increase in the standards that you run your business. Because you can't let anything slip. We kind of look at it as like zero failure. Like nothing can go wrong, whether it's ordering it or setting it up. Like, how do we have the best setup instruction? This cable goes here, like color coding thing. I mean, so you just can't mess it up.
I don't even know who my Wi-Fi provider is. Like, I'm thinking about it now. I literally don't even know who it is. So how would you convince someone like me to come to Rebel?
Sure.
When my system's in place, I pay the bill at the end of the month, my flatmate says to me, send me X amount of money, and I send it to him, and that's it.
The big thing is like, who are our customers and who are not our customers? We differentiate the product and the service with how we operate. So I'll kind of go through like what we do that's a little different, right? Because we still provide you at the macro level broadband and Wi-Fi and a home phone. It's a digital home phone. It's not the old copper phone. So there's kind of 3 layers that you can differentiate. So the first is the actual product and service. So people talk all about like the Wi-Fi is going out in my house, or like I have dead zones in my house. So if you have a 1-bed flat, you probably just have a router, and there's probably not much else. You don't have an extender, and you probably have enough Wi-Fi, and it's probably okay.
And it's always in my bedroom. I've always got the router.
The router's in your bedroom?
It's always in my bedroom. Every flat I've been in, it's always been in my bedroom.
And then in your living room, like you have gap.
Yeah.
So we can solve that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we're getting right into it. This is great. This is how I grow a business by two people. But basically what you want to do is think about first the broadband and the house. And so if you have a small flat, that's fine. You probably just need one piece of equipment. And really the way broadband works is you have cables, whether they're copper, and now most of them are fiber over half the country. As fiber cables coming in, it's going to get you faster speeds. It connects into the wall, you put a router there, and there you go. That's like going to emit Wi-Fi. If you have a small space, that's usually okay. A lot of times you still have copper cables, and like the copper cables are not, they have tons of interference, and they're not as reliable. So the broadband just like goes down. It has nothing to do with the equipment in your house. It's just like the broadband has an outage. So you're like, I don't have internet. Like I can't watch Now TV. I can't do any of those things. That's super frustrating. So going to fiber cables like helps just the broadband coming into your house be more reliable. It also allows you to have faster download and upload speeds. So all of a sudden, like Teams calls or Zoom calls, you can have your video on, right? Whereas before you couldn't. The other thing, and that's just the broadband into the house. So what we always do is we make sure we work with different network providers who actually lay the fiber cables, and we say we want to have as much fiber available to every customer as possible. Maybe company 1 has done it to half the country, and company 2 has done it for an incremental 5 million. I want to be retailing all of that fiber to make sure that everybody, no matter who they are, I can provide you the fastest speeds, the most reliable product. But in the house, a lot of people experience, okay, so my router's in my bedroom, but I don't just have a studio, right? So I've got a living room, I've got a spare room, like, and I've got a kitchen which has all these metal things which are creating interference for my Wi-Fi. So like, why do I have patchier Wi-Fi here? So that's where Rebel really comes in, and that's our foreplay. What we do is we've got great Wi-Fi equipment. So like the routers, the extenders, we invest way more than anybody else in just having you a better piece of equipment. More radios, it's going to give you more Wi-Fi.
And so what does a better piece of equipment look like, and why is it better, and how did you figure out I can make a better product?
You almost are contrasting what the big guys do. Right. So they use commodity equipment that's super cheap, and that they can basically, because they have a legacy base of customers, that they can just get away with. I didn't have to create new equipment. Rest of the world uses really state-of-the-art equipment. What I needed to do was bring it to the UK. We differentiate on that Wi-Fi. So we want to make sure that you have a great Wi-Fi experience. And we actually brought a US Wi-Fi software company to the UK, and every customer, they don't pay more for it, every customer has that embedded in their service, and they have this amazing app. And what it does is that's the software that makes sure that actually your Wi-Fi connections are like always optimized. If you all of a sudden go from, you ever been on a WhatsApp call? Yeah. You're in your bedroom, you go to your living room, the WhatsApp
and it breaks
drops.
up.
It goes.
So annoying.
It happens
right?
very often,
And you're like, it's 2025. Like, can we get beyond this? And the answer is yes. But you have to have, that's the Wi-Fi software layer. So there's like the hardware, which is like, the reason it disconnected, it was like jumping off, and then it was called like sticky client. So basically your phone is still trying to connect back to your router in your bedroom. And so all of a sudden you go like further away in your house, and it's still, all of a sudden it's further away, further away, further away. It's not like jumping around to, let's say, that extender that is right next to you. So you could be right next to it. It's still trying to connect. And you're like, I have Wi-Fi in my house. Like, why is this not working? It's because it's like what we call dumb internet. So like you can't have a smart house with dumb internet. You need to have a smart house. I know, I should change it. We're actually Wi-Fi that actually works, which people love. But smart internet for a smart house kind of works. You differentiate there, and that's just on the product layer, right? But then there's the whole thing, like why do people loathe the broadband provider? It's the service.
Yes.
So like the broadband's not great, the Wi-Fi is spotty, but it's a customer service. It takes forever to call somebody. When I call somebody, I'm like patched through a different call center. I'm talking to somebody in India. They have no empathy for what I'm doing and like the current experience. And the problem is also this dumb internet problem is So you're calling, you're like, I'm in my living room, I'm next to my extender, and like, it's not working.
Oh God, that's such a traumatic memory. The amount of times you're just sitting there with your phone.
It's so annoying,
trying
right?
to get signal. Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be thinking about your broadband provider. Like, especially not trying to fix something. Somebody's on the phone, they're like, well, I see that your broadband line is working. You're like, thanks. But like, that's not helping me right now. You're like, and they're like, but they can't see into your network. Instead of you calling us, we will see that you have a quality of experience that's lower than what we want. And we kind of have automatic thresholds. So we'll proactively call you and we'll say, hey, you know, what's going on? It seems like your Wi-Fi in your kitchen is like not working well. This woman was like, I like have no idea. I didn't change it. We're like, well, we see like interference. Did you add something? She's like, oh, my husband just got me this Sonos for my birthday. Yes, Sonos is cool.
Right.
But Sonos automatically creates its own Wi-Fi network. And it's like competing with your Wi-Fi. So you're actually like interfering with yourself. Let's help you get that on the Rebel Wi-Fi network. And then like everything's going to be harmonious. And she was like, yes, like, and we can do that proactively. You're not calling and saying, I've got a problem. We're reaching out and saying, hey, we feel like you can have a better experience.
So you're preempting things that could go wrong and fixing
well, that's
them
a totally
through,
different.
That's completely
through your
different.
framework that you've made.
It's still a touch point, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's a positive touch point.
Right.
Yeah.
So you feel like somebody's taking care of you.
You're calling the customer before he's frustrated. He or she is frustrated, basically. So the conversation is going to be different. What's interesting to me, so you're talking about technology now. But in what way in the UK specifically, does policy interfere in any way? Is regulation or technology a bigger obstacle, basically? Or are they both important?
One thing that happened in which regulation helped the UK was, for a long time, BT kind of dominated at the infrastructure layer. So they had all these copper cables, and that's what people had. And then all of a sudden, Western Europe was using fiber broadband, and they're at, let's say, 1,000 megabits. Forget, doesn't really matter what the unit is, but let's say it's 1,000. The UK is at 80, right? You're like, okay, like, feels like we're behind significantly. All of Poland is on 1,000, and the UK is at 80. You're like, okay, this feels off. Like, what's going on? BT basically was just sweating their assets and not investing in the newer technology of the fiber. Because, you know, why would they? If there wasn't more competition, you know, who's going to challenge them? Everybody has to use that product. And so why would they invest more money for the same customers? Right? It's kind of a negative investment case. So what the regulator did is they opened up and incentivized competition. So now you can have more, they incentivized people to build fiber throughout the UK, which forced BT then to overbuild and build fiber. So then everybody benefits from the fiber build. But if they didn't do that, it would have never happened because they had kind of led a monopoly.
I'm just thinking, is there a country or a government or a set of systems that you look at and you think these guys have it right and we want to copy them? Like, on the global scale, where does the UK sit in efficiency and in productivity within broadband?
The UK historically was horrible. And actually, the UK has kind of been a really good success story.
Great.
So, I mean, it's kind of, you know, everybody likes to bash the UK. Not in this instance. I mean, for decades, the UK was behind, and it's now really, really catching up.
Catching up to who, though? Who's the example?
Portugal has tons of fiber throughout it. And so you kind of, what you want to say is, as a percentage of the houses available, what percentage has a full fiber or an FTTP, which is fiber to the premise, basically just a fiber cable all the way, no copper cables. How much, what's the penetration of kind of full fiber? The UK right now is over 50%.
Sorry, what is that exactly?
So that means most of the country used to be copper cables, the telephone cable. So like the old legacy copper cables.
Infrastructure,
That's why you were limited to go to 80 speeds. Just 80 megabits per second. People start saying, okay, we're going to rip out the copper. We're going to put a fiber optic cable instead. That lets us go way faster, way more reliable product than the copper. So what everybody has done in the kind of world is basically say we need to put fiber cables throughout the country, and that's what businesses and homes use for their broadband going forward. And the UK kind of is at the halfway mark, but in the next couple of years, I think it's going to close to 90% plus will have fiber. So we're not gonna, we shouldn't, in 2 years, if we were doing this, we would not have the conversation that people are still on old copper cables, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good thing.
So there's been, so everyone appreciated this, saw we had to swap copper for fibre, and then now there's been this huge thing where you're digging into the ground and replacing them. Is that what's
Exactly. So
happened?
you see, you know, where there's...
And is that government run or
I was
or
literally
private?
It's
about
not
to
government
say
run.
right.
So it's basically the regulator, Ofcom,
Right.
has created an incentive where they said, you know, BT, we need to open up competition. So we're going to incentivize new people to come in and build fiber.
Yeah.
We're going to have protected areas where they can do that. That's going to create competition for BT to then what's called overlay their copper with fiber.
Yeah.
It's been super successful from a consumer point of view, not from a business point of view. So what happens is super fascinating. It's kind of like you think it's a boring industry. It's actually super dynamic.
No, I feel like there are lots of dramas going on here, which
There's tons of drama.
we don't know about. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
going
we
to tell
should-
you
I
all
think
about
we
it.
should discuss
There's a
this.
lot
Spill
there's a
this
lot of
tea.
drama in
Yeah.
broadband. Basically, what happened was they created this incentive. So what happened then is all these people who had, you know, huge pockets, big infrastructure funds said, okay, this is an infrastructure asset, like building a toll road or a bridge. I'm going to build fiber in the ground.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of capital went into this. And everybody goes, okay, well, I can go beat BT to go lay fiber in Birmingham, and then I'm going to go get all the customers in Birmingham. And
crazy, yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
what they did. So they created these, they're called altnets, so alternative network providers. They're like mini BTs.
Right.
And so they did this. They raised tons of money. They put tons of money into the ground. And then they realized that, first, there was no education for customers. And so the actual take-up, like putting fiber, digging up the roads, that's hard, takes time, takes a lot of money. But you can do it. Getting people to actually connect to it, well, that's a whole different ballgame.
Because you have to switch
You have to
providers, and it's such a pain.
they're still
you
on
don't
BT.
understand. Yeah.
So all of a sudden you
Yeah.
have, you know, Bill's Broadband company showing up and going, oh, by the way, I've dug up your road for the last, 2 years. They're like, I know. That was
By the way, I
annoying."
have had that. The fiber construction
Yes.
next to my house has been a pain.
Super
Yeah.
pain.
I hate fiber. Seriously, it's
Yeah.
like
But this is why. So instead of the vanguard of, hey, this is so great, it's going to be faster and better and more reliable, you're like, this has been a nuisance for a year.
So
and then
true. Yeah.
they're like, you're going to switch, right? And you're like, well why?
No
they're
idea
like,
what it means.
They're like, because I can give you 2,000 megabits per second. And you're going to say, what's a megabit per second? I have no
What does
idea
that
what you're
even mean?
talking.
Yeah.
Like, so these guys are all infrastructure providers, right? They don't know how to retail. So
They're
I
not
don't talk
selling,
about
yeah.
speeds to customers. I talk about we're more reliable. We do fair and transparent pricing. Like,
Qualitative aspects of it.
because what's
Yeah.
really important, we're going to have Wi-Fi throughout your house. If you have any smart devices, like we're going to help you connect all of them. You can prioritize them. For parents, we let you do a TV timeout. So if you want to have all the kids like stop playing the Xbox or no connection on your iPad, it's dinner time. Like we're going to go do an internet timeout.
That's smart. Yeah.
So we're built for like this smart home. Whereas those guys, they're not talking about that. They're like 5,000 megabits per second. You're like, I don't even know
don't know
what,
what that
you're like, well,
means.
what do I need?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what they won't say is not 5,000 megabits per second,
Yeah.
right? You have this disconnect. And what happened is customers didn't join them. So then you had all these, companies going into administration. So the customers get cheap broadband and relatively fast. That's been a good thing. There's lots of fiber in the ground.
Yeah.
The problem is there's a lot more fiber in the ground than people connected to it. So there's this huge disconnect. There's huge opportunity in education of basically saying, how do I take you from hating your legacy broadband provider, disliking the new guy who also built, and actually saying there's something new? And that's where Rebel comes in, is we don't build fiber because lots of people are doing that. It's a total commodity. What's differentiated is actually the retail and the home experience. That's where we can differentiate. So if I've learned any lesson in business, it's don't try to fight in a commodity market because it's a race to the bottom, super unprofitable,
Right.
really, really tough, tons of marketing you have to do, tons of investment for a low margin product. Whereas if you can turn this around and say, hey, if you have a large house and if you have a family and if you work from home or if you have smart devices, like you need to be on a more intelligent home internet, that's where we come in. And that's a totally different conversation, right? That's not about price and speed. That's around, how consistent can you give me that quality of experience? I know that everybody, when you call, you're going to have 1 ring, max 2 rings, and somebody in the UK who's super trained is going to be answering your phone call with empathy.
Yeah.
And they're going to solve it first time. That's what we kind of do, and we invest behind that. It's a totally different kind of company.
Yeah.
It's built on trust, right? That's a totally different thing.
Yeah. So if you look at the way that you structured the team, right? Marketing obviously is an important aspect of that.
Huge.
How have you structured your team, and what areas in particular do you pay attention to? So customer service, marketing.
Right.
What else is important that maybe
Exactly.
you wouldn't think about?
The way I always think about our business, and every business is different, right? So, is you have to make sure, like, and I've heard this once, and I really believe it. It's like, keep the main thing the main thing. Mm-hmm. And so to us, we always go back to, like, how are we different? Like, how do I earn your business, right? And I earn it by having this exceptional product and service experience with exceptional customer support, if required, and then fair and transparent pricing. And we just do not violate these things. So, like, it's easy to go put hidden charges in your T's and C's. And when somebody leaves, to, like, whack them with a whole bunch of charges. Like, that's easy to do. It's super profitable. It's easy to do, but it violates all of our core kind of brand values. And so, like, we just don't do it. Customers pay the same, new customers and old customers. Like, nobody else does that, right? Because we say, the more you're a loyal customer, the more you're going to have to pay. It doesn't feel right.
From a business perspective, all these psychological things you're tapping into, how did you land this, and why do you do it?
We kind of, thought about what was wrong with the industry. The benefit of coming into an established industry that has huge customer satisfaction. Just let's do an exercise.
Okay.
So BT 1.3, EE 1.5, Sky 1.3.
Million users?
Now, I'll ask you what you think the unit is. Talk 2.4. What do you think those are? Virgin 1.3.
Well, is that not the price?
I was thinking users.
That is the average Trustpilot score.
Oh.
So
Right.
Okay, but that makes sense. That makes
so
sense. That makes
so when you
sense.
think about this, I mean, that is my North Star. When I like question, what are we doing?
That's the gap.
I look
That's
at
what
this.
you're filling.
I go, 90% of the UK are on these providers.
Yeah.
And they give them a failing score. And it's Trustpilot, right? So this is basically saying, I don't trust you.
Yeah, of course.
But like 1.3 out of 5, and you can't give a 0. So that's an inflated number, right?
That's a good
So
point. Yeah.
when I get back to, and we're still not happy with that, right? That we want that to be hard, because the relationship is so broken between the consumer and the business. They're saying, I don't trust you. And so you have this huge gap to rebuild. So when you're thinking about the business, keeping the main thing, the first thing I have to do is stay true to, like, my brand values, because they're that important.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because the market has violated those.
And would you say those brand values are almost on par with your actual product in terms of how important it is? Yeah.
Has to be. So to us, there's kind of those 3 pillars. There's the core product. It's got to be great. It's got to be better. It's got to be more reliable, and it's just got to work. Right? Nobody wants to talk to their broadband provider for fun. It's not what you do on Saturdays, right? You just want it to work and not even think about it.
But the price also is important, isn't it?
Price is important, but people will pay for better, and that's a huge thing. That's
Will
a,
they
that's
actually?
a gap.
I don't know.
They
'Cause
will.
yeah.
So we do. So I price at a premium. So everybody thought I was going to have to price below BT, and I said,
That's what I would think as well.
but it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because if I price below BT, like a Talk does, like, what do you know about these companies? Their price reflects the value that you're getting from that. So I'm not providing a commodity, cheap as chips broadband product or service. Like, I hire better trained, more expensive people. We invest more into them. They cost more money. And we're based in London, right? Like, I am investing in that. I'm investing in more equipment. Well, if I'm priced 10 pounds below, right, and I'm position myself as a low-cost provider, that's not solving your core tenets of, like, Do I think it's going to be a great customer service? Do I think I'm going to get a great product for that? Do I think that they're not going to have exploitive, terms and conditions that are going to jack up my price every time I'm off contract? Like, no. The trade is it's cheap, but I'm probably going to get screwed.
Yeah, it implies that.
Well, that's not our brand. Like, we don't want any of that. So I actually price at a premium because I'm giving them a premium product.
And I guess that then also taps into the psychological price point as well of things, because if
Exactly.
you know you're paying a little bit more and then the story you're selling is it's going to be better each time, then and then
you
it
have
is
to be.
better, and then the rumors are true, then you lean into the price point.
And we did this huge experiment, right? When you're a startup, and now we're scaling as a business, and we went through this startup stage. But when you're at a startup, like, there's lots of things you believe to be true, but you kind of, like, customers will tell you if it's really true, right? So you can believe your own hype, right? Super dangerous thing.
Sure.
We knew, and we had been in the broadband industry, and so we kind of knew these things that were wrong. We knew we wanted to do something different. And one of our first tests was when we launched, I actually didn't have contracts at all. I just said everything, which nobody done. I said no contracts. I said nobody, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to see if people saw the value in the product.
Yeah.
So I priced it at a premium. We talked about our brand, and we were differentiated, and we invested a lot in that and communicating it. And we got a bunch of customers, and I wanted them not to stay because they were stuck in a contract. I wanted them to stay because it was better. And they saw the value in it. Super risky, right? Super risky. Like, don't recommend it. You have to really believe in your stuff.
Yeah.
And so we ran this huge risk. And I remember talking to people, and they were like, this is the dumbest thing you're doing. And actually, it was brilliant. But you had to have conviction.
It makes sense, though. It makes a lot of sense.
But, and we could have gone out of business if all those customers left in month 2 because they were like, this is not better. Then I go, it's not really a business, right? Like, I thought we could do it, but people don't see the value. But then we had lower churn than BT, who's sticking everybody on contracts all the time. And I said, okay, I think we're really onto something, because I can tell you it's better. I can give you logic of, like, why your Wi-Fi needs to be more reliable, but until you experience it, like, the customer never lies.
Yeah. And seeing is believing as well.
And then the whole thing we worry about is churn, because that tells you that people are still seeing the value. Churn and referrals. And those are the two kind of metrics that we look at all the time. And our churn's amazing, and we get tons of referrals. And that just tells me people are seeing the value in what you're doing. It's different, but all they need to do is have one person try it. They see it can be better. Nobody's worried about £5 a month if you have a smart house. If you're doing smart light bulbs and you've got this, like, you're not worried about £5 a month. Especially for something that's actually working. And from that peace of mind is like, I don't have a broadband problem.
So in terms of, like, customer retention versus customer acquisition, obviously customer retention for you is very important.
Huge.
How much of your efforts do you also direct to acquiring new customers, and how can you balance that? Because balancing that can be quite hard.
I would say we're still figuring that out. And I think every scaling company is figuring that out. So first, basically what you want to do is you want to acquire a customer for as efficiently as possible, and then you want to have them stay for as long as possible. That's the whole motto of a service company. I think of both things as equally important, to be honest. So, like, we need to be growing net new customers because we started at 0 4 years ago, right? So we're constantly growing. And that's a challenge in a market where you have these big broadband dinosaurs, right? And they're losing customers. And, it's not hard to figure out why, right? They've been price gouging them and with worse customer service. So people are super frustrated. So it's not hard to see why they're losing them. But they spend so much money. You can't walk down the street without a BT or an EE ad. I mean, 3 lines, right? They're on the kit. There's a reason for that. I call that the cost of bad. A big company that's just been exploiting you, they have got to dominate your mind share and the awareness share, or else all you're associating with them is bad.
Is the terrible experience.
Very fair point.
So, you have to have brand ambassadors who are cool, because you're finally like, okay, my broadband's horrible, but, like, he's pretty cool. Like, I listen to his music. Has nothing to do with the broadband, right?
Or I guess you also think if everyone has it, there must be a reason, and then you hear that your friend has, a certain
Cheap
provider,
mentality.
and it's...
Or you don't know that another thing exists. So our big thing is there's this huge, and the big challenge for us is as we scale. So we're scaling, we're growing quicker. Like every month we're growing. If you want to go challenge BT, you know, you need to go have 5, 8, 9 million customers. You know, and to do that, that's a huge amount of capital. And really, I can go target small cohorts of people super efficiently, right? And then they can kind of like grow, and they tell their friends, and you know, everybody who listens to this podcast is like, we got to have Rebel. Ultimately, that can get you to, you know, 1 million customers. But if you want to go have 5, 8, what you really have to do is break that education barrier. Like you need to go tell people there's something different.
Yeah, of course.
That's super expensive.
Yeah.
And so that's where, you know, when I'm battling, I just saw this, and it's like EE Broadband is offering customers a 300-pound like switch bill credit. So like if you switch, we'll pay 300 pounds of your exit fee. I mean, do you know how distressed that business needs to be for somebody to pay? They probably pay 200 pounds in marketing, let's say 50 pounds in shipping and a router, plus 300 pounds. Like you're not going to make that up for like 5 years. And that customer's not staying for 5 years. That's just an unsustainable business model. Like what we're seeing really right now is the rise of a challenger like Rebel, and really the melting ice cube of these legacy guys. It's really exciting. I mean, broadband, not very sexy. Historically, super fun right now. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, as you've been saying, like it's challenging these huge giants, these dinosaurs. Like the thing that keeps on coming to my mind is when you go into Boots, when you go into a pharmacy and you've seen the same products as Nurofen and paracetamol, as you've been saying since I was a child, right?
Yeah.
That will never change because of the structure and
Right.
because of how difficult it is to test and bring things to market and all these
Barriers to entry,
considerations you have to do. So
Absolutely.
you're doing that, which I never would have thought of as a thing.
How did you learn about broadbands, and why did you get into that industry, and why was that?
I started as a telecom consultant in North America.
Cool.
And so it's like working with all these different companies, and most of it was all growing. So like, how are we going to grow our business? It was really exciting. I was working with great companies, growing companies, you know, building new products, new efforts and marketing efforts. So it was really fun. I then moved to London, and I still worked for this company called BCG. It's a big consulting company, and I started working for different telcos, and BT was one of them. And that was less about, you know, how are you growing, and this is more like, how are you cutting costs, right?
Yeah.
I was like, not so fun. BT actually hired me, and they were like, we need you to come run. And so I ran at BT. I was the managing director of their transformation. And I kind of, you know, I justified it in my head as, you know, I have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kind of turn around a business, because I've seen what good looks like, and it exists, and you can do it. So for 3 years, I kind of like banged my head against the pavement and worked within this behemoth to try to change attitudes and values and the culture, and say, hey, how do we go delight customers? Like, can we fix this? You know, I remember having this conversation at BT, and I said, you know, the number one metric I care about is call volume. I said, I want call volume to 0. And everybody looked at me, and they were like, well, you know, I said, because that means there's a problem.
I don't want problems.
Like, there's a problem. And they were like, you know, I remember talking to the head of customer success, and they were like, well, you know, my metrics are, you know, resolve first time. And I was like, yeah, because you're just thinking from a script. Like, I want to solve the problem. I was like, but
symptom
Well, you were
tracing.
thinking,
I was like, I want to
yes.
solve the problem.
It's founder mentality.
And
if you
so-
have skin in the game, that's what you think.
So
Yeah.
my co-founder, David, he's unbelievably brilliant guy. He worked with me at BT, and we just said, you know what? Like, enough of this. We're not going to fix this. Like, we've done some good, but like, they're not going to make the journey.
Yeah.
But like, we know where we're going. Let's just do it ourselves. So we just did it. We put our own money into it, and we just like fully committed, because I knew it would work, and it's worked. But like, you have to have tremendous faith that, you know,
Tremendous
it's gonna
faith, and I also think being at a big corporate where you can see all those pain points, but there are so many structures into solving them. And from what I heard then, it seems like BT were doing symptom treating rather than cause treating, and that you're not going to overcome within this structure.
Correct. You need to
And-
build from scratch, like
build from
totally new digital.
Yeah.
You know, like just their legacy IT wouldn't let them do stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse. Like,
So
you know what?
interesting.
Just like
Yeah.
put it to the side,
Yeah.
start new.
But then I think you also need a lot of courage because obviously the barrier to entry, which is what we always talk about, is quite
huge,
high.
huge.
You know,
Yeah,
obviously, so
exactly.
it's a huge risk. It's not something like food and bev where you can build a brand that people love on social media.
Exactly.
It's completely
Yeah,
different. And I
totally
think
different.
these legacy industries are really intimidating.
And they're so difficult to crack for that reason.
Yeah, unless you have very
So-
specialized knowledge, which
Yeah.
was what you had because you had
Yeah,
worked there for so many years.
Exactly. I felt like we had a unique combination of broadband industry knowledge. So we knew how the system should work. We've also seen what good looks like. We worked with like really, really the best North American telcos in the world. And then we brought it to the UK, and we all lived in the UK, and we're like, well, we also understand like the very specific pain points. So like you kind of can triangulate, bring the best, but really meet like the core problems that a UK consumer's having. And so we kind of just said, that's what our brand's built on. So it wasn't kind of confusing what our values were going to be, because they had to be if you wanted
So
to
potent.
solve
Yeah.
the problems.
Yeah.
It's very logical. But I guess, obviously, for these really big companies, the more you grow, the harder it is to maintain those principles and the harder it is to be
Absolutely.
lean and to honor that. So how are you going to do that?
Behind every founder, right, is like a really good core team.
Yeah.
Because that's actually where the rubber meets the road of like these micro decisions. Because it's never at the high level that these things happen. It's always in the, page 13 of the T's and C's where it's really easy to like sneak something in because you want to make the numbers better. Like that's where, and the founder doesn't know about page 13.
Of course. Yeah.
That's just the reality. Like somebody else on that team. So if you haven't brought in people who have the same values as not only you, but the brand, I was pitching different ideas, and our new CMO, who we had hired, was like, I don't know if that's truly aligned to like our brand values. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I started on this like financial conversation, but so you need people to keep you accountable.
To check. Yeah.
And
check
know
And
where
you
not
have
to
to.
compromise. Yeah.
And you just say like, there's things we just don't compromise on,
Yeah.
right? And it's really convenient and easy to do those things. But like, that's what's hard, is like sticking to your principles. But half of it is like, if I didn't hire her who had built the brand with me, but also had enough confidence in herself to like go against the CEO and say, hey, like, I don't like that direction. Here's why. Here's another alternative that is a better answer. Like, if she wasn't so strong,
Yeah.
this doesn't work.
How much of that is experience versus just personality and values, as you say?
That's exactly what I was about to say, because I feel like in startup, personalities like that are really welcomed for the reason you just gave. Whereas in other companies, the challenging, all that sort of personality type may not be as received.
You're building at all times as you're growing a business, you're building guardrails for good or for bad. So what you're trying to do is protect the main thing, right? So like those brand values have to be within your guardrails. So like you need to have structures in place that you can't violate those, like strong people who are willing to do it. Now let's say you're at a big company, like their guardrails, BT's guardrails are not the same guardrails I have. So change to them is like impossible because they've done the same thing for 100 years. So when I came in as a change agent, like all I was doing was going orthogonal to the way everybody was moving in directions. Like that's really hard because
tiring.
It's super
That
because
is tiring.
they're built.
Yeah.
The business is built to
Yeah.
do the same thing
Yeah.
it did yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going, no. Do you see how frustrated customers are?
Yeah.
Like we have to do this differently.
have
And
to
they're
like-
like,
dismantle
suck it up.
everything.
No.
they're like, no,
Yeah.
but Bob used to do it this way, and now I have Bob's job.
Bob and Tom.
And you're like, that's not a really good answer.
No, it's
So-
not.
So you have to build companies where like what is core, and you can't violate it.
And it works for a period of time, and it will work for the reasons it does work, and then until the point where it doesn't.
People then change.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the whole inflection point. I mean, we're scaling as a business, so I don't even consider ourselves. We're kind of out of the startup phase.
Yeah.
We know who we are. We're growing. Customers are growing. So we're scaling. So you get huge times where people go, oh, well, that was really a marketing pitch, not my brand values, right? That was a marketing pitch, and now I'm on a marketing 2.0, a mature company market. That wasn't really the core business, right? That was just the marketing pitch. That was the slick thing you saw in adverts.
Yeah.
So you have to differentiate, which is this how your business runs, or is this just like the gloss? And you just have to make sure it's not the gloss. It's like penetrates into the business.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tucker. That was honestly fascinating. I can't wait to go through this line by line.
We will, and we'll sign up.
And we'll
We're
also
signing
sign
up.
up.
Absolutely.
But I can't wait to go through this line by line and then just go away and think about big broadband as a whole, and then also legislation and the infrastructure, and then building the team to fight that infrastructure, and the whole looking at a corporate structure and then finding the hole within it and then pressing on that. I mean, there's so much.
There's a
There
lot.
is so
There
much
is a
there.
lot.
It's a lot of
There's
fun.
Yeah, that's a
Thank
lot of
you
fun.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's great.